Amber Chase had always been a brilliant doctor. With her sharp mind and unwavering dedication to medicine, she had quickly risen through the ranks of the medical profession. She was respected by her colleagues and admired by her superiors. Amber had a reputation for being cold and distant with her patients. She was a woman of few words, often rushing through appointments with a detached air, as if she had more important things to do. It wasn't that Amber didn't care about her patients, she did. But somewhere along the way, her priorities had shifted. In her mind, she had come to believe that some patients were more deserving of her time and attention than others. She had developed a prejudice, an unconscious bias that made her believe that some people simply weren't worth the effort. Amber's prejudice was based on race, gender, or any other visible factor. She had convinced herself that patients with certain conditions or backgrounds were not worth her time. If patients of color came in with a minor ailment, she would dismiss them with a prescription and a curt farewell. If some patients had a chronic condition that required ongoing care, she would refer them to a colleague, preferring to focus on what she deemed more important cases. One fateful winter morning, Amber's prejudice reached its breaking point. A young Mexican woman named Emily was wheeled into the emergency room, her face contorted in pain. Amber was on duty that day, and when Emily was assigned to her care, she couldn't hide her frustration despite the fake smile. She entered the room, her demeanor icy. Emily, writhing in pain, could barely speak. It's the worst migraine ever, she managed to stammer. Amber rolled her eyes, convinced that Emily was exaggerating. She administered a standard migraine cocktail and left the room without a word of reassurance. Emily's condition continued to deteriorate, and she was soon admitted to the hospital for further tests. Days turned into weeks, and Emily's condition didn't improve. She was in excruciating pain, unable to function or even sleep. Amber, however, remained distant and uninvolved, convinced that Emily was simply seeking attention. But Emily's condition was real, far more serious than Amber had ever considered. A brain scan revealed a rare and life-threatening condition that required immediate surgery. Emily's parents were horrified to learn that their daughter had been suffering needlessly for weeks due to Amber's negligence. The hospital launched an internal investigation, and the truth about Amber's prejudiced treatment of patients began to emerge. It turned out that Emily was not the only one who had suffered because of Amber's nonchalant attitude. Numerous patients had been mistreated or neglected, all because Amber had deemed their conditions less important. As the investigation unfolded, Amber's colleagues were shocked by the extent of her callousness. Many had suspected that something was amiss, but no one had realized the full extent of her prejudice. Amber's medical license was suspended pending a formal hearing, and the hospital issued a public apology to all the patients who had been affected by her actions. Emily, after her life-saving surgery, filed a lawsuit against Amber and the hospital for medical malpractice. The legal battle that followed was brutal. Emily's lawyers presented a compelling case, arguing that Amber's prejudice had directly led to her suffering. The evidence was overwhelming, and the jury was appalled by Amber's actions. The hospital settled with Emily, providing her with a substantial financial settlement to compensate for the pain and trauma she had endured. But the consequences for Amber didn't stop there. Her medical license was revoked permanently, and her career in medicine was in ruins. Amber was forced to confront the ugly truth about herself. She had let her prejudice cloud her judgment and harm innocent people. She had allowed her own biases to dictate who deserved care and who didn't, and it had cost her everything. With her medical career in shambles, Amber struggled to find work in any capacity. She went from being a respected doctor to working in menial jobs just to make ends meet. It was a humbling experience, one that forced her to confront her own arrogance and prejudice. Over time, Amber began to reflect on her actions and the harm she had caused. She sought therapy to address her biases and work to become a more compassionate person. She volunteered at a free clinic, offering her medical skills to those who needed them most, regardless of their conditions or backgrounds. As Amber continued her journey of self-discovery and redemption, she found solace in the simple act of helping others. Volunteering at the free clinic had opened her eyes to the harsh realities faced by patients who often fell through the cracks of the healthcare system. She met people from all walks of life, each with their own unique challenges and medical needs. One particularly memorable encounter was with an elderly man named Mr. Jenkins. He had been living on the streets for years, battling a myriad of health issues that had gone untreated. When he first came to the clinic, Amber was struck by his frailty and the haunted look in his eyes. It was a stark reminder that compassion and care should never be reserved for a select few. Amber took Mr. Jenkins under her wing, arranging for him to receive the medical attention he so desperately needed. It was a challenging journey, but as his health improved, so did his spirit. As time went on, Amber became an advocate for homeless healthcare, working tirelessly to bridge the gap between the marginalized and the medical community. She organized medical outreach programs, recruited volunteers, and fought for policy changes to ensure that people like Mr. Jenkins received the care they deserved. It was a challenging process, but Amber was determined to become a better person, both personally and professionally. Amber's story of redemption began to gain attention. A local newspaper featured an article about her transformation, highlighting her dedication to patient care and her commitment to making amends for her past mistakes. The article struck a chord with many, and letters of support and encouragement poured in from patients, colleagues, and even strangers who had been touched by her story. Over the years, Amber's advocacy work expanded beyond the local community. She began speaking at medical conferences and seminars, sharing her journey of transformation and highlighting the importance of empathy and unbiased care in medicine. Amber's work even caught the attention of a renowned medical school, which invited her to join their faculty as a lecturer on patient care and medical ethics. It was an opportunity she had never imagined, and she accepted it with humility and gratitude. As Amber continued to grow both personally and professionally, she remained dedicated to her mission of healing and reconciliation. She knew that her past actions would forever be a part of her story, but she was determined to use them as a source of inspiration and change. One day, as she was in a taxi taking her home after a lecture, Amber received an unexpected email. It was from Emily, the young woman whose life had been forever altered by her prejudice. Emily had been following Amber's journey of redemption from a distance and had been deeply moved by it. In her email, Emily expressed her forgiveness and gratitude. She acknowledged the immense change Amber had undergone and the positive impact she was now having on the medical community and patients alike. Amber's story had come full circle, from a place of prejudice and callousness to one of empathy, advocacy, and redemption. She had paid a heavy price for her nonchalant attitude, but through her journey, she had found a deeper purpose in healthcare. Amber had learned that it was never too late to change, to make amends, and to dedicate oneself to a higher calling: the well-being and dignity of every patient, regardless of their circumstances.